Peace, blessings, and revolutionary love. This is Brother KD. I just wanted to get up on here, say a few things, unburden my heart, share especially what's going on as far as my thoughts, ideas, and just where I am in the universe as I'm continuously in a never ending search for identity. And what I have learned from this ongoing, enduring process is that it is quite intimidating. It is scary. It is ridden with anxiety. It is it is something that is so dynamic that it brings forth an amalgamation of things. Distress, joy, excitement, confusion. It brings clarity. It brings together just the tensions with sitting in silence. And overall, though, as I continue to reflect and observe and then also integrate these learnings, these teachings, these best practices, it is shaping and molding me ever so gently. And I'm extremely appreciative to life and the divine and nature and my ancestors and um, my lovely wife, my children, my social orbit, and my kinfolk. So it's a dynamic, beautiful, scary, loving, chaotic thing that I am fully embracing, and I'm not taking for granted at all. But as you probably have seen, is that there has been a lot of writing, a lot of notes shared, a lot of posts in regards to sociotherapy, liberation social work, and different excerpts and quotes and whatnot. And yeah, I've been been coming to the realization of how I want to show up in the world. I think that it's something that is again ongoing, and I am looking at the world from what Chancellor Williams said, the bridge that oversees the crossroads, and I'm looking at so many different pathways of being an embodied, unapologetic being, and how I want to continue to model and demonstrate agency in being something and growing into something and becoming something that may or may not um, fit into traditional boxes of contemporary understanding. And one thing that I really thought that I wanted to do is I wanted to be a therapist. And when I said I wanted to be a therapist, I was not considering all the different manifestations of a therapist. I wasn't considering that therapists could operate on different dimensions, um, utilizing different approaches, incorporating different perspectives and principles in the work. I attacked or went after therapeutic knowledge um, from the pipeline of, you know, what the Western world told me I needed to know. And I got a lot of good information. Got a lot of great insight and knowledge and content regarding how Europeans and white Americans conceptualize psychology and human change and motivation and family systems and um, what it means to be human in a society. But as I kind of started to step outside of the academic spaces and start practicing in real world using all of these different theories and methods and perspectives, is I realized just how one-sided and unidimensional that they were. And and it really opened up my eyes to just how knowledge and information and research and studies and experiments, how that has been so colonialized that when we go through these pipelines of becoming this professional, that we become so immersed and embedded in this pipeline that is discrediting and isolating and erasing any and all other lived realities and perspectives. Um, that you don't realize just how complicit you become in perpetuating the status quo. And so, with my military background and experiencing moral distress, moral injury, um, and what I would really call it spiritual disintegration, I knew that I didn't want a repeat of that at all. I didn't want to have another series of episodes of just despair and misery and dread and psychological warfare. I didn't want that. And so when I started to get a little taste of the dissonance that I was experiencing between what I believed and how I was being expected to perform, I immediately jumped ship. Immediately. And so once I jumped ship, that kind of put me on the fringes of the mental health industry and the therapeutic um, spaces and whatnot. And so as I remained there in those peripheries and the fringes, I went to my I went to the creative and intellectual and historical um, pages of great warrior scholars to really see how my people handled um, healing and health and wellness in a time where there was no professional associations, in a time where um, it was not customary for Black folks um, to be, to have the freedom of maneuver, to go see this physician, to go see this, to go to this clinic or this hospital due to Jim Crow segregation and there's the harsh policies that try to keep Black folks in their place. And what I've learned is that even though systemically we were, it was always the policies were always dehumanizing and was always trying to make us feel smaller and feel and internalize inferiority complex. At the same time, we still found ways to express, to share, and to pull together and to develop and to cultivate and to teach and educate and to um, invent and all of the things, right? And so as I started looking and combing through the pages of so many different books, I will name another day, and so many lectures that I will also name again on another day, I started to develop the language, started to develop slowly but surely the language of of what it is that I have been gravitating to, but didn't quite know that it was pulling me in, and that is sociocultural therapy. And the broader thing is liberatory dialogics. And basically, what that means is that is centering the lived experiences, the lived realities, the particular ways of knowing, understanding, seeing, and scoping the world, the particular value orientations and attitudes and belief systems, the particular concepts and ideas that flow from those lived experiences and lived realities, and seeing how all of that interplays with the broader context, society, culture, whether if we're here in United States American culture, pop culture, etc., um, within our own cultural frameworks, um, looking at language, looking at our relationships with community, with God, with the universe, with nature, and seeing how all those things kind of work against, with, alongside, um, with each other, and then seeing also what comes out of that. What comes out of that? What is that? What does that look like as far as how that person thinks, how that person believes, how that person walks and talks and dress and you know uh, draws explanations and rationalizations and makes meaning of what's going on around them, and so much more. And so I started to really develop this language of sociocultural therapy, looking at it from the broader context of liberatory dialogics. Everything is discussion based, everything is relational, everything is centered around what I like to call communal rhythm. And that is us being in sync, um, with being in sync with one another as far, in terms of the way we attend to each other, the way that we invite each other in. I know when I was in church, big thing is call and response. And, when you are telling your testimony and you're testifying, you have people within the congregation that is also amplifying your voice, you know, and that's the same thing. When I'm doing, it is centered around the lived experience, the testimony of people. And I'm there as a sacred witness. And I'm also there too to not only bear witness, but also help and facilitate the exploration so we can fully understand all of its threads and how those threads connect to the past. And then I like to also help people draw a bridge to the present, which then can help them start creating um, a bridge to the future. And so sociocultural therapy is something that has really have changed how I want to be understood as a mental health practitioner, as a thinker, as a writer, as a husband, as a brother, as a cousin, as an uncle. I mean, it's something that when I realized that when I came to the language of social cultural therapy, it was almost as if I already should have already known. And I'm extremely grateful for the language. And I know sometimes when we have been culturally isolated and uprooted from our traditions, our rituals, our customs, the cultural knowledge that's supposed to get passed down from generation to generation. We have to find language again. And unfortunately, here I am speaking English, which is a colonizing language, which is the language of the colonists who brutalized and dehumanized and sabotaged, and um, you know, so many millions of African people. And at the same time, as I'm speaking this colonized language, I must still find resonance with with words that speak to the actual realities, life, culture, experience, and also the heritage of survival and resistance and victory that comprises the Black experience. And so I'm so glad that I was able to find this language, and I am extremely grateful that sociocultural therapy, which was seemed like has been dangling in front of me this whole time, that I was able to use my third eye to see it clearly. And so that's exactly what you're going to continue to keep seeing is me transforming um, into a mo better socio-cultural therapist, um, utilizing just a utilizing a value orientation that serves and support primarily the people of African descent and all other multiracial, multi-ethnic, multicultural folks who feel the yokes of oppression, colonialism, enslavement, and social inequality, who still feel it around their necks, who still find themselves uh, mirroring and assimilating to the dominant culture that does not hold space, respect, or honor um, for the natural consciousness of melanated folk. And so I'm going to continue to keep writing. I'm going to be doing some more podcasting. Um, I'm going to be doing some more lives. This is new. This is my first one. And I'm going to do it in a way that's going to be a bit more predictable, a bit more inclusive, and have it to where people can actually come on and we can have these spontaneous interchanges. I think that's something that I haven't done um, publicly, that I do in my classes and in workshops, is that I am very spontaneous. I'm very big on community healing conversations, conversations from the soul, conversations that um, that really draws upon each other's energy and thought processes and spirit in order to really delve into subjects and topics and questions um, that may seem difficult to handle on your own. And so you're going to be seeing that. It's going to be fun. It's going to be illuminating. It's going to be thought provoking. It's going to be done with humility. And it's going to be done from a place of just pure respect and righteousness. And so you'll definitely get that from me. Um, this has been I'm extremely grateful for this opportunity. No matter if it's one person to 100 people, um, I really hope that as I continue to hone in on what it is that's destined for my people, my children, their children's children, myself, the people that I have not met, and also living up to the standards of excellence, the standards of faith, the standards of community centeredness and commitment that has been um, imprinted in my heart and my mind from my grandparents, from my uncles, my aunts, and past and other relatives who have transitioned on. Um, yeah, I'm going to do my very best to pass it on and to keep it going. And that's what you'll see. Peace and love. I am because we are ever sure, ever faithful, ever loving.